Hi everyone, welcome to the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. My name is Stacy, I am a Jiu-Jitsu and this is my podcast. In today's episode, I sat down with my good friend and training partner, Kiea, and we discussed her journey and how she ended up getting to this point. She trains a lot for her job. She actually has a very active, sort of physically demanding job. And she does talk about how jiu-jitsu has helped her with that. She also talks about mindset and why she decided to come back to compete and struggles and lessons and lots of really good words of advice. And without further ado, here is Kiea. Hi everyone, welcome back. I am sitting here with my friend and training partner, Kiea! Would you like to introduce yourself to the podcast audience?
Hi, I'm Kiea. I have been training in BJJ for a while, and it's been a little bit off and on because of work, but I am very happy to be back and training as consistently as I possibly can while I have the time, and it's helping me set a good schedule for the future, and yeah, making it more of a lifestyle than a hop in and out. So
yeah, what belt are you?
Oh yeah, I'm a purple belt. I keep forgetting. I'm just I love training, and that's pretty much how it goes.
Well, because you've been training for several years now.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know how many?
No, I have no idea. And I think it's because I came in and I started training nonstop, and then I moved, and then I went to work, and then I moved around training for specifically work, so it's kind of hard to kind of pin down, but it's definitely been a while. So
cool. Years.
Yeah.
Plural.
Yes, years. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. You and I are both adults. We're not those 20-something-year-old kids who are, whatever. So for people like us, work a lot of times is a priority because we gotta live.
Yeah, we have to pay for this.
Exactly. We have to pay tuition.
Yeah.
So I, in my own way, understand exactly what it's like to kind of take a little bit of a hiatus, or work gets in your way, and not really in the way, but kind of, because a lot of times, sometimes I'm just I'd rather be training right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I train for work, so I have to do very specific training for that. And while this has been very helpful in helping me learn how to move and how to fall, I have to also kind of make sure I'm balancing that out, because I only have one body.
Yeah.
And I don't have endless amounts of energy if I don't, rest, after working. And our days can be anywhere from, maybe 4 hours, but most of the time it's 14, 12, 16 hours, and then you go back the next day and you're okay.
Yeah.
So it depends on the project.
It's exhausting, but your job is very physically intense at times.
It really, really can be, and the training for that is obviously more intense than sometimes the actual job, but you have to be ready, and it's more about balance right now than it is about anything. So
Definitely. Isn't that kind of how competitions go? A lot of times the training's more intense than your actual competition. Sort of?
Yes,
for jiu-jitsu,
yes,
I mean.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I feel like life in general. Yes, jiu-jitsu, work training, and they definitely train us harder, and when we get there, we're oh, okay, I can do this, which is good, because you need to be safe, or you need to try to win, so same concept.
Yeah. So how did you get into jiu-jitsu in the first place?
Funnily, I was actually on the set of The Mob Doctor, and this is dating myself, and I had met one of my high school friends who I hadn't seen in a really long time, and he was I've been doing this training, and I was I wanted to do martial arts forever, because I had a couple of not so great altercations, in the past. And I was I want to be able to defend myself if that should ever come up again. And he was well, since your situation involved you being pushed to the ground or whatever, you want try jiu-jitsu, or you can try taekwondo or whatever. And he was but I train at this place, and it happened to be Gracie Barra in Downers Grove. And I went, and I was like avoiding it for a really long time. And then finally, like I think it was like a Saturday night or something, I was like, I'm just gonna call. Like, so I called and set up an intro class, and then I went in and I met my professor and his wife, and we did like an intro class, and I think I screamed during the session because I wasn't expecting it. Like I wasn't even hurt. It just like, I think when you have the background that I did, I feel like sometimes when you train, you're putting yourself in those same situations that bring up things, and you're like, you just scream, or at least I used to. Now I just kind of look angry, but like, I did that first class, and then I kept going, and I really enjoyed it, and we had really good coaches, and any question I asked, like they were just willing to like do it again, you know, and keep doing it. And so I came probably like 2 or 3 times a week, and then I ended up competing after like a minute, and that was really fun. I was not expecting anything, and like I walked in with like a coffee from Starbucks, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What? I was thirsty." And they're like, "Put that down. You can't have that." And I was like, "Oh, okay." so yeah, like I ended up competing, and it was really fun, and I trained as much as I could. And then I had to move, and things started picking up career-wise, and you know how that goes. You have to put more time into training and networking and showing up, and those were very long hours. And I don't think I got much sleep for like a good year, like helping produce films and stuff like that. Yeah. So everybody always wanted something, everybody always needed something. So that kind of like is kind of my journey. And then I moved away for a bit, and then I went to do a film, and I came back, and I was like, there is nothing on the horizon because of the pandemic. And then I booked something else, and I was like, well, I guess I am leaving again. So the second I got downtime, I went and talked to one of my bosses, and he was just like, no, do what makes you happy. And I trained with him and like one of my coworkers out in New Mexico, and like that kind of re-sparked, you know, the stuff that I needed. And I came back and I started training again here. And then finally, like, I just asked to join the competition team for multiple reasons. But one was because I wanted to compete again, and 2 was because I wanted to train at, like, the highest level possible and to get consistent in that. And that's what I've been doing. And nice. I had my first competition last month, and I learned a lot about, you know, my weaknesses and what I need to change. And, you know, it's been really good. So I'm enjoying it. It's nice. It's also different because there's a group of different people, and I think the competitors are like a lot tougher than I remember. And maybe it's just because I'm older, to be honest with you. I don't know. And I haven't been training at that level.
20-something.
Yeah, but they're also just good.
They're
good, and they train all the time. And I think that that's a testament to, you know, like my professor and like the coaches and them like really wanting it. And I think that that's inspiring to be around. So
it is. Yeah.
Age doesn't really matter to me in that respect. I just respect like what they're doing and how they're doing it. And it's nice to be around people that keep me inspired instead of having to be the one that's always inspiring people and taking care of people and like being like the mom.
Yeah.
So I like that change.
Well, I mean, we all need people like that. Like even, you know, even your leaders need somebody to lean on, you know? So like you being the kind of like the mom of the group, or like you being the front runner person who's inspiring everybody behind you, like you still need somebody to look to be like, okay, how, you know?
Yeah. And I just find that to be so nice because like it makes it easier because I'm coming in like and trying to refresh everything. So it's a nice spot to be in, and I don't think that people really understand how much I appreciate that, and I'll never tell them except for now.
I'm definitely leaving that in.
That's
They're
so
gonna
funny.
hear it, and then they're gonna know.
Yeah, I just
secrets out.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's kind of like it's the next chapter, and it's nice. So
yeah. So you've been training for multiple years in different capacities. What would you say are some of the things that jiu-jitsu has taught you through the years?
I think it's taught me to persevere and like fight through whatever it is that you're going through. And I see that now, you know, even like career wise, like it's just coming in and just, you know, sometimes you just have to come in and be quiet and put your head down, and you're not going to have everything perfect right away, but if you keep going, you're going to learn it and you're going to pick it up. And I found that to be true everywhere, every single place. And also something that is magical that always happens is like, doesn't matter what group I go into, if I'm on the mats, there's always like a place for you.
Yeah.
And that is very interesting. Even after I've come back, you know, from working and stuff, it's just very nice to see that. And I don't know, it's a good,
Yeah.
it's a good thing. There's always a spot for you, and as long as you like put the work in. So
Yeah, definitely. And I love that you're talking about how jiu-jitsu teaches you kind of lessons about life in general, like how it can be applied to life in general. So far, every single person I've talked to for the episodes that have been released and the ones that haven't been released yet, they've all said something similar to that.
yeah, because it's true.
It is true.
It's really true, and I just appreciate it. So
Yeah, I think that's something that kind of brings us all together too, is we all find that when we start, and then we kind of latch onto it and like this is it, you know. Yeah, I don't know a single person in my acquaintance who started jiu-jitsu and ever regretted it.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't either. It's been a really good time, and it's been a very tough time, I think, too, at the same time. So I'm just glad I'm here. And I'm glad I have, like, the awareness to, like, stick with the same professor, because there is no replacement for somebody who has seen you through everything. And they know, like, when something's up, they know when to, like, put pressure on, and they know when to, like, encourage the growth. And that is something that is not replaceable. It's just not. So that's another thing that I've learned, and I also want to be that person for other people eventually.
Yeah. No,
So.
I absolutely agree with you. There's a huge value in having that community of people who know you, people who've seen you grow, people who can see your potential and nurture that in you, and that's a really valuable thing to have.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, yep. Little fist shoulder.
Yeah, the
elbow.
Sometimes I do wish I was like videoing these things.
Oh no.
So that
Yes.
I don't know how to describe
needs to
this.
see this.
It's the right angle elbow arm, and you just yep.
Yeah, it's like the ice cream scoop. Bloop.
Oh yeah.
And we're cut.
Oh man, this is fun. You know what?
It's hilarious.
Honestly, I might actually leave a majority of this stuff in. Okay, anyway, so we've talked about things jiu-jitsu has taught you. And I know you mentioned that you were struggling with various things. But let's kind of talk about, for jiu-jitsu specifically, what kind of struggles in jiu-jitsu have you overcome through the years?
The entire thing. We're still working on it. Like, I don't even know how do I answer that? It's like you learn something and then you're at that next level, and then like there's something else. You're like, oh, how do I get out of that? Oh, how do I get out of that? Oh, how did this happen? Like, which mistake did I make this time? And where do I go to fix it? And how do I become better at this thing? I mean, it's literally the entire game for me. There's nothing that hasn't been a struggle, except for instantly going into guard in the guillotine. For whatever reason, that's like a natural go-to. That's easy. Everything else has been like, what did you say? Can you show it to me 4 more times? Okay, eventually I'll get this in 6 months. That's kind of how it goes, and I guess I shouldn't say the whole thing is a struggle. It's more like a learning curve, but yeah, it's everything. It's like we're always learning something new, and you're always adding to the foundation that you learned. So the whole thing, I guess. Okay. But not in a bad way. It's just in a,
this
is new.
Yeah.
How can I add it in?
Well, Hearing you describe it just now, it sounds more, instead of like a struggle, it sounds more like a puzzle.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah. Like, you know, you find, it's like you found a new piece in the bottom of the box. Like, oh, where does this go? You know, kind of a thing. It's like you're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Have you ever been so frustrated or felt so defeated that you wanted to quit?
To quit? No. Frustrated, yes. There has been a lot of that, but that doesn't make me want to quit. I'm more of a fight than a flight. Like, I used to have that when I was little, and now that just doesn't exist anymore. So if there's something that I don't get, I'm just going to be frustrated until I get it. Sorry, everybody. I'm sorry I look cranky. I'm sorry I look angry. I'm sorry that I'm frustrated, but I need to get this, and I won't stop until I get it. I'm either going to pass out, die, or get out of it, and I choose the latter. So, yeah, there's been a lot that's been frustrating lately, because I came back into the competition team, and like I said, everybody is at a higher level, and it doesn't matter that I was training, the other martial arts or whatever, that's fine, but if you don't do this consistently, you'll kind of lose it, and that's been frustrating, because that's nobody's fault, but I'm still mad. I'm still angry. Oh, me asking my coaches, what do you eat for breakfast? I need it. I'm sure they're like, what is wrong with this girl?
Coach Vincent and his mushroom coffee stuff.
Oh, I didn't know. He didn't tell me about the mushroom coffee. He told me about the oatmeal, and I ate it, and the next morning I was like, okay, what else?
Well, he was
jump on and be like, what else do you eat for breakfast?
Well, I don't know if he's still on this, but for a long time he was on this kick where he was doing this mushroom powder that was supposed to be better than coffee for
I heard about
stuff. And I'm just like, okay.
No, I keep hearing about it. Total tangent. There's this one, a lovely scientist girl. She is the sweetest person on the planet. And she was like, oh, I got my PhD in studying mushrooms and chemical compounds. And I was like, girl, what? And so she went into detail about mushrooms. And then there were pictures of her foraging with this group and how all the benefits of the mushrooms and which ones work best. And then I saw the powder come out for the coffee, and I was like, I think of her all the time. And she is still doing it, but she talks about it all the time. And I'm amazed, so I don't question. Is he still drinking it? I need to figure out what it is.
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I know he was drinking it for a while, in the spring.
Okay.
But, oh yeah, by the way, at the time of recording this is, late June 2023. So I don't know if he's still doing it, but, he was doing it for a while.
Nice.
He would, bring it to the morning classes, and then I'd see him with it, and I'd be like, what's that? And he'd be like, it's the mushrooms. I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I hear very good things. And if she's a scientist and she's got her PhD and she's traveling all over to do this, I trust her and I trust him, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's really cool.
I was calling it his magic powder. I was like, Coach Vince, did you have more magic powder this morning?
That probably does not sound good to people that don't know what you're talking about. That's hilarious.
It's an inside joke for that particular morning group because he would, it's 9:00 in the morning, he's anyway, so it'd be so Coach Vince, is that more magic powder?
Yeah, that young person cracks me up.
Oh man, oh my gosh, okay, sorry.
No, that's they're so funny.
I know, I enjoy the people.
Yeah.
Okay, let's circle this back around to you. This is your story. This is your story. Let's circle this back around to you in particular. You mentioned competing.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe sort of your kind of process of coming back to competing? What sort of drove you to want to compete after a hiatus?
I know we're circling back around to me, but this is all about community. One of my training partners, who's now a professor and has his own school, he went and competed, and I was like, oh, look, he's competing, then I should compete. And that was 6 months before I competed, because it takes me forever. So I was like, oh, I really want to do it. I'm not sure if I'm even in shape for it. And so I talked to my professor multiple times about it, and then something unfortunate happened in my family where somebody passed like very young, and I was like, if I don't do this now, like what happens if I don't get another chance because I've been procrastinating? You know what I mean? What happens when you don't do the things that you want to do and you're not living your life? Like time just starts to pass you by. So that was kind of like my impetus to just jump back in and go for it. And then also a couple of other things happened with family where I was just like, I don't want to be in that situation. I don't want to be in that situation. I want to do the things that make me happy and that feed my soul, and this is one of those things, and I really should just be training. And if I join the competition team, I know that like I'll be able to A, compete, and B, get the level of training I need, and I'll be able to be consistent because I have a whole group of people around who are, that's like what they do. And I don't remember what video I was watching, but they were saying, you know, the people that you surround yourself are the driving force for helping you like stay motivated. Mm-hmm. And when motivation ends, like discipline happens, but like I still need those people around me.
Yeah.
Because it's been a rough time. It's been very stressful. There are lots of things happening in the industry that are not great. Mm-hmm. And I feel like everybody around me has been stressed out because of that. So this is like my happy place, and this is like my release. And I feel myself growing every time I get on the mats, and specifically on the mats for competition training. Mm-hmm. So that's why I kind of decided to compete again. Like I instinctively knew it, mm-hmm. but like when you're doing it, you're like, oh yeah, okay. Why did I take 6 months? Yeah. So I'm just gonna not beat myself up for the 6 months, and I'm just gonna go forward and do the best I can.
Yeah.
And like looking at all of the ways that I've trained and all the stuff that I've learned, like it's really helped me just to be like, okay, like just take a step back, do what you need to do, you know, figure your things out, get stable, and then you can like move forward.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the whole thing. But yeah.
Well, and I think like there's a reason that we always say, and Professor Carlos has talked about this all the time. Mm-hmm. It's like jiu-jitsu changes lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I think that's a common thread that I've seen in not just the people that we train with, but also like everybody who's sat for an interview so far.
Yeah.
Including yourself. You know, we've all sort of, in different like side tangent ways, we've all sort of kind of come under the umbrella of mm-hmm. like my life has been changed because of this.
Yeah.
For the better.
Yeah.
You know, and we've all agreed. It was like, yeah, mine has too. Like for various ways. Maybe it's like literal self-protection.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, mental and emotional protection, or learning how to be more confident and like stand up for myself, or you know, just I don't know, just being happier in general. Like mm-hmm. it's changed everybody.
Yeah.
All of our lives, you know.
And I like it.
Me too. Yeah. Me too.
Just like do this elbow thing.
I know. It's like that's, I should put like a GIF or whatever.
I think I watched too many like black and white films. You're like, gee golly,
golly gee willikers.
Right. Oh wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. I need to be cut off of like ice cream. No, I'm just kidding. I haven't had any ice cream today yet.
I love ice cream.
I do.
In summertime.
Yeah.
So, let's wrap this up. What advice would you give to somebody who's maybe contemplating training but still hasn't committed yet, or might be a little bit scared or nervous to do it?
That's a really good question, mm-hmm. because again, like I'll just show up and then I'll keep going. But if you're nervous, I think 1 second at a time, and then 1 minute at a time, and then 1 hour at a time, and then 1 day at a time. Just make a decision and make a choice like every second, and then once you make those decisions, like keep building on that until like you're on the mats, or you're in that program that you want to be, or you talk to the person that you needed to talk to get where you need to go, and then keep going. And if you make a mistake or it doesn't feel right, give it at least 3 to 6 months and see where you are. If you don't quit and if you don't give up. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you do need to keep going. And I think that that's what's important. Like, it's not going to be perfect at first, so just do it anyway. And then if you need to talk to me about it, like, find me and I will yell at you. I'm just kidding. I won't yell at you. I won't yell at you, but I will definitely encourage you to keep going. Because, it's rough in these streets. Yeah.
So Kiea, where can they find you on social media?
It's just best to email me.
Okay.
Because you can find me on social media. You can find me like under Kiea Mia on Twitter or Instagram.
Yeah.
But like email me.
Okay.
And then you can email me at like kia.houston@gmail.com, and like I usually get back to people within 48 hours. I try.
Oh, great.
That's a good way to get in touch. But yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kiea.
Did I answer all of your questions?
You did. And this has been a fun time. I appreciate you being here.
Yay.
Okay. I really hope you guys had as much fun listening to that conversation as I had having that conversation. So if you want to get in touch with Kiea, I will have all of her socials linked in the description box below. And before we go, I want to say another huge thank you to my Patreon supporter, Ann Foster. She's the host of Vulgar History Podcast, which is a feminist women's history comedy podcast. And I've been listening to it for years now, and I love it. So if vulgar history sounds like your cup of tea, then go on over there and check her out. I also have her info linked in the description box below as well. Oh, and speaking of Patreon, so I've been pretty creative lately, I think, with what I have going on over on Patreon. I've already got one kind of exclusive Patreon series, which is the raw and unedited series that I have for Purple Belts and Up. And that's basically where I do interviews, obviously, but I do these interviews well in advance for the time that they go out. Like, for example, the one you just heard, Kiea and I, were at like the end of June or somewhere in June of this year, and it's now the end of October. So anyway, so the raw and unedited series is where I will post the full entire interview with no edits, no cuts, so you guys can hear the whole entire thing from start to end months before it goes live. So that's for Purple Belts and Up on Patreon. Now I was just like, okay, I need something else. What can I do? What do I have to offer? So what I have decided to do is I've actually got 2 new Patreon series, like exclusive series that are going up. One is a mental health chat for Blue Belts and Up, and that's basically where I'm going to put, chats about mental health and jiu-jitsu, mental health and sports, mental health and life, and just stuff like that. And sometimes I'll use clips from interviews that I do, and sometimes I'll just kind of talk. And so we'll have a nice little discussion that way. And then the third one that I'm going to do is it's like a spilling the tea type of thing, and that's going to be available to everybody from white belt to black belt, and that's basically going to be where I tell stories about my time working in hospitality. So if you listened to my very first episode, the very first one I ever did, which is My Path to Jiu-Jitsu, Season 1, Episode 1, that's where I talk about the kind of inciting incident for what made me start to do jiu-jitsu in the first place. And at the time, I was working in a hotel. So I have lots and lots of stories from that time. So that is something I'm going to share over on Patreon. Other than that, thank you so much for all of your support. All of the messages I've received from everybody and telling me in person and over the phone, just your feedback on everything. I absolutely adore it. Thank you so much. I love hearing from you. And also, guys, if you really want to help support the podcast, honestly, listening, sharing, rating, and reviewing, that really does help. And it actually gets the podcast to be picked up more often by the algorithms. For real, like it's all an algorithm out there. So all of your interactions with all of my posts, with all of the episodes, sharing it, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everything like that, that really does help. So thank you so much. If you're here listening, thank you so much. And I will see you in the next one. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like to connect with me while you wait for the next podcast episode, find me on Instagram at Jujiteras Podcast and at Jujitera. I'm also on Facebook at Jujiteras Podcast. You could also email me at jujiteraspodcast@gmail.com. If you would like to support me in this podcast, you can visit me on Patreon at Jujiteras Podcast, where you get early ad-free access to all episodes, plus some bonus content. You could also find me on buymeacoffee.com at Jujiteraspod. Thank you so much for listening. Remember to rate and review. See you next time.